They were mocking me. They were sending me messages talking about taking my little black business now. And now look. Now look what they are partly responsible for. And I just think that's so funny. And I know somebody somewhere punching the air. And I hope they're watching this, because those things that you thought were going to harm me, they were actually tools that I needed to fight more racist people like you.
All right, so we're gonna have a visual representation of someone hurting us. So we're living our life. This is us growing and feeding our soul. And then someone comes along, hurts us, nutmeg. That's in there. And then you continue living your life. Blah, blah, blah. If someone comes to you and they go, oh yeah, just get it out. How do you want me to get that out? And this is why it's so frustrating when people are like, I didn't even hurt you that badly. Do you want to try and remove the nutmeg from my smoothie? Like, do you want to, like literally, I don't even think you could, to be honest. The only way in which you could successfully get all of this out is genuinely, where the heck are all my cups? The only way that you could possibly get this out is to literally take the smoothie, put it into an entirely new cup, rinse this cup out, make me a new smoothie, no nutmeg, and then proceed to pour. That is about the only way. And also, I will also add, do we see how you're like, Brooke, there's still nutmeg in here because there was nutmeg? You're so smart. Yeah, there's still nutmeg in this cup, even though we just tried to do the whole thing. So imagine how many times we're gonna have to pour, dump, make new smoothie, pour, dump, make new smoothie, in order for this smoothie cup to be clean. And this is why when people are like, it happened 10 years ago, I don't understand why it still bothers you. There's still nutmeg in my cup.
A white mom calls out a black 5-year-old child, calls the child the N-word, okay? She is now raising hundreds of thousands of dollars from bigots across the land. Here it is.
Do you call him the child? All the child. It is my own business. You call him. Okay, why don't you have the boss to say it right now again? To say.
You don't go digging through people's
Nobody digging through.
A little just did, you dumbass.
That little kid, you call him the little child?
What if he acts like one, he's gonna.
Are you about to hit him? You chase him here?
He took my son's stuff.
So that gives you the right to call the child 5-year-old the N-word.
If that's what he's gonna act
That's
like.
what you're gonna call him.
That's what he's gonna act like.
You know, that's a hate speech.
Put up the picture full mass. Let's deal with this. A white woman was caught on camera calling a 5-year-old black child the N-word. This was on a Minnesota playground. She raises over $260,000 after the backlash from her insane, extreme, bigoted, and racist behavior. The witness alleged in a separate video that the child has autism. McWhorter said that after he stopped recording, the woman reportedly hurled more slurs and then told him and his wife that they should leave the country. Put her up again. As I've said before, the isms all run together. They work as a team, especially when being spewed like this. So these reports have not yet been independently verified. So I'm going to get into it. The woman in the video has been identified as Shiloh. She has created an online fundraiser seeking $250,000 to relocate out of fear of retaliation after receiving threats in response to the viral video. She also claims in the video that her hateful outburst was due to the child allegedly stealing from her. Now, let's talk about this as if we are adults. The child is being blamed for the adult's racism. Let's start there. Who's childish here?
Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is the Diaspora Review and I'm your host Sam. This is the Diaspora Review and I'm your host Sam. So on our today's episode, I'd like us to talk about a topic. This is a topic that is going to leave you both furious and inspired. And we're going to dive deep into a story that is not just outrageous, but a masterclass in how to turn pain into power. Now, imagine this. A white woman calls a 5-year-old black child the N-word. Alright? And instead of being held accountable, this woman, she raises over $500,000 on a crowdfunding platform. And then, wait. First, before I continue, I want that information to sink into your head first. And then, people funded hate speech, right? So a black business, and this is where things are starting to get interesting, whereby a black business owner, a tech-savvy coder with first-hand experience of online harassment, fights back, not with violence or empty tweets, but with strategy, law, and technical skill. She breaks down the payment infrastructure, exposes processors funding this racist campaign, and mobilizes thousands to file complaints with FTC, CFPB, and more. We're going to react to a powerful analogy that starts with something as simple as a smoothie and a nutmeg, but ends in systemic accountability. So trust me, you're going to want to watch this to the very end. And I'll ask you to hit that like button so that this video can be pushed to as many people as possible. And then subscribe, man. Leave a comment. Tell me what you think. And then we're going to be right back after I have played these videos, videos I saw on TikTok. And by the way, credit to the creators of these videos, and thumbs up for standing up with that black autistic child. We're going to say no to systemic racism.
Okay, so I haven't talked about this a whole lot, but I have been so bothered by this. When I say I have been disgusted by this, there was this white woman named Shiloh Hendris who called a black baby the N-word. And then when she was exposed, she went on to raise, I think it's at $1 million now. She has raised $1 million on this crowdfunding page for calling a black kid the N-word, right? I was so bothered by that, and everybody's like, what can we do? What can we do? Y'all know me for cyberbullying people, but that was not going to be enough. So I'm going to tell y'all what I did, okay? I've been thinking, I've been strategizing, I've been doing a little sleuthing, right? So what I thought about as a business owner, what do I want to hit? Do I want to hit her, or do I want to hit the money? So I thought about that. So I started searching and trying to figure out, how can I find this funding source? I'm a business owner, I own a retail store, so I know there is a funding source. There's a pipeline somewhere, right? Give, Send, Go is the platform she uses, but they are not the bank. So I thought, like, we got to find a bank. And most banks are not going to want to be attached to something like that, right? Like most banks, especially payment processors, they will cut that shit off with any type of doubt or controversy. They'll usually just cut it off, right? So what I did, I used to be a web developer, so I know how to code and I know how to read code. So I went and I broke down the code on Give, Send, Go's checkout page line for line, and there were keywords I wanted to look for, right? So I looked for the keywords and I started looking through the keywords and I found the keyword Block Inc., right? That's familiar, right? Block Inc. is the parent company of Square. So I went and I did my researching, and it turns out, yeah, that's their payment processor. So I'm going to attach and I'm going to share ways we can contact both Block Inc. and Square. So we want to hit both of them so they can't ignore us, right? But there is a process to report stuff like that. And I don't know if they just didn't think we'd find it out, but yeah, we found it out. So I'm going to share how y'all can report. Stop reporting to Give, Send, Go. They don't give a shit. They supported Kyle Rittenhouse, the January 6th rioters. That is literally what they do. That platform thrives off hate. So we don't want to hit them. We want to hit the money. And see, Give, Send, Go is a for-profit company, and they pretty much can do what they want to do. But when it comes to banking and payment processing in this country, we do actually have laws and regulations surrounding that. So any type of bank or payment processor has to have a clear-cut policy that prevents them from funding hateful things like that. So yes, Block and Square both have policies that prohibit the use of their platform for glorifying or amplifying or profiting off of harassment, illegal activities, racism, and yes, hate speech. So she has violated their policy by even having that campaign. I'm telling y'all, stop playing with black women in business and stop playing with black women in tech, because I know good and well y'all didn't think we were going to look into that. I started searching and trying to figure out how can I find this funding source.
This is absolutely amazing, and we got to make sure to blow this creator up. So as we all know, Shiloh Hendris has raised over $650,000, on her way to $1 million. Give, Send, Go, doesn't really care. People have tried to report it, doesn't matter. So this creator used her coding skills to dig into the HTML and JavaScript and Block Inc. owns Square, which has very big policies against hate-filled and discriminatory fundraising. So Keandria, I hope I'm saying that right, launched a coordinated campaign to flood with complaints, crashing the support bot of Block Inc. and dropping the stock over 24.5% after it crashed. Coders started volunteering to join in and monitor the actual processing, and what you saw is they tried to switch it over to Stripe. She's urging people to file complaints with the FTC and the CFPB. It's only going to help increase the chance of a paper trail and holding platforms like this accountable. Also, side note, she does mention that she is receiving death threats, but to go ahead and tag her in this information. So if you are a white creator particularly, tag the original creator. You can file a complaint with Square or Block. You can email Square directly. You can report to the federal agencies and then obviously file and tag the original creator that had this idea. And if you're wondering what the end goal is here, I'll let her finish it out.
I'll tell you about this payment processor and their so-called policy. Now, Square and Block Inc. have a policy that details that not only do they have the right to pause your payouts, but they have a right to hold the funds indefinitely. If they find that you violated their policy or if they stop payment for any reason, they have the right to hold that money to protect them from disputes. So we're hoping that they hold the payout and those assholes never get refunded. I'm so glad that you said this, because this is looking at the bigger picture overall, and this is what you call a takeaway. This is what I want everyone to take away from this situation, right? What we have achieved, what we've accomplished, and the way we have changed things and shifted the tide. They absolutely, these companies, period, absolutely did not think they were going to be held accountable. The ones facilitating, whether it's fundraisers, campaigns, businesses that are just hateful to consumers, discriminating, and they're still operating right. None of these people thought they were going to be held accountable like that. None of these people felt like they had anybody to answer to. So moving forward, we've changed that, and that is a big deal. And I know good and damn well they didn't think a black woman was going to be the one to change that. Okay, I'm glad somebody tagged me in this so that I can respond, because I don't want this type of misinformation spreading. This is what's wrong in our society in the age of the internet. When somebody stands up, when somebody is doing something and actually pushing for a change, y'all nitpick that person so fucking much that the enemy or the person on the other side doesn't even have to. This is absolutely untrue. And I'm not sure what side you're on, but it is very clear you have not been following this story. I went to their website and I broke down their HTML code. This is stuff that is documented. Y'all think I would just make these claims without some sort of proof of that? I said I saw Block Inc. Now follow me here. I saw Block Inc. in their code. And as a business owner, I know Block Inc. is the parent company of Square, a payment processor. Block Inc. is the corporation. They're a umbrella for multiple things, including Cash App, Afterpay, and Tidal as well. So I called out Block Inc. because I saw them there. For sure, I saw Block Inc. I called out Block Inc. and because Square is their payment processing plugin, people use their deductive reasoning to gather that it was Square. And again, if you follow this story, if you see any of the story that happened online, you'll see that multiple people, hundreds and thousands of people at this point have screenshotted their conversations with Square, and Square acknowledged this campaign initially. They were not denying it initially. They acknowledged it, said they were investigating it, and compliance reached out to say they were having it taken down. And now suddenly they've never even been a part of it, right? Now, I want y'all to look through this screenshot, and I want y'all to recognize a PR and legal stunt when you see one. Look at the language. Notice that they say current customer, as in not a customer right now, because they severed ties and backed away and tried to distance themselves when we called them out for that. Also notice that they don't deny being a part of that campaign at all. They just say Give, Send, Go is not their customer. It's also important to note that in this case, Square is a third-party payment processor. They are a separate plugin that you just add to your website. So when you go and you set up one of these campaigns, you select one of maybe like a dozen payment processors, right? And you connect it, and this payment processor is acting as the middleman. They are collecting these funds, and they're going to send it to your bank account. So in this case, maybe technically, legally, Shiloh Hendris is the customer if she's the one who connected them to that website. But make no mistake, I saw it. Other people have confirmed it too. Block Inc. and Square were connected to that campaign, and they collected up to $600,000 for her. And again, just search the topic, scroll, do your research. There are other people on this app who have actually screenshotted the code and showed that the new payment processor is Stripe. So initially when I saw it and when other people saw it after I called it out, it was not Stripe, it was Block Inc. So now they have switched over to a different platform. And again, I've detailed all of this. There was a period of time a couple of days ago where me and a bunch of other creators were just up in the middle of the night and people were contacting me saying, hey, the campaign isn't accepting payments right now, right? So we monitored it and we broke down the code, and there was maybe an hour or so where they weren't collecting payments in the middle of the night, and boom, just like that, after that time passed, now they're collecting payments via Stripe. Now, as somebody who's a web developer, former web developer, and a business owner, I know that stunt when I see one. Anytime I had to change payment processors, you do it at a time where it's not busy. So the fact that that switch happened in the middle of the night was strategic. And if you can't wrap your head around that, I'll never be able to explain it to you. So in this case, this is the example I give. In this case, let's say we are at an apple orchard. You brought your basket and I don't have mine. So whether these apples fall off the tree, whether you catch them for me or whatever, I ask you, hey, can you hold my apples and bring them home for me when we get done? And you say, yeah, sure. But then somebody comes and they say, hey, you guys aren't supposed to be picking these apples. And you're like, oh, these aren't my apples, they're Keandria's. You're still holding the fucking apples. You still moved the apples. You still picked these apples illegally, whether it was for me or not. At this point, Square denying involvement is like being caught with bricks in your trunk and being like, oh, I'm holding them for a friend. Like, you moved the money. You were complicit, bro. Oh, girl, this is actually the most delicious part of this story, because a lot of the stuff that I used to come to this conclusion, like a lot of the skill and the research, I knew where to look because recently my own business was attacked by racism. So let me explain. I own an online shop. Now, I've been in marketing, web development for like 15 years, but since Kamala Harris announced her campaign, I've kind of ventured into retail, and I started making t-shirts with quotes that uplift marginalized voices. We push for social change. You know, we support certain causes, raise money, all of that. That's what I've been doing recently, right? For like maybe the past like 6 to 8 months. And there are a lot of people pissed off by that. Like, we have shirts that are talking about dismantling white supremacy, you know, take down the patriarchy, like calling out blatant. We actually push for stuff like that. And there are people who don't like that. So there was this one day where, I don't know when they organized this, but a bunch of attacked my business by attacking my payment processor. And this is how they did it. They placed a bunch of large orders at once, like hundreds of dollars at once, and they immediately filed disputes. And if you know anything about business and payment processors, especially a small business, that's like a death sentence when it comes to your banking. All those disputes, 1 or 2 disputes is bad, but multiple at once sends off red flags. So that's what happened. And my payment processor had froze all of my funding, held my funds, would not let me process payments. It was a nightmare. It shut operation down for 2 days, and I lost a lot of profit after that. And because of that whole debacle, I was forced to do that research to fix it. So when you have a website that accepts online payments and stuff, there's like, you have to do things to make sure you're compliant, right? So I had to learn a lot about payment processors, compliance, all the federal laws and regulations information surrounding that. I had to research that to make sure my business was compliant so that my bank and my payment processor would unlock my funds. They were mocking me. They were sending me messages talking about taking my little black business now. And now look what they are partly responsible for. Because if that had never happened, I knew some about web development, e-commerce, and marketing, but I had never even bothered to research that deeply into those laws until my own money was on the line. So I knew where the code would be just because I'm a web developer. Honestly, I've been doing it so long. I've built so many websites. I've looked at so many codes, and I've seen so many checkout pages that it's just kind of second nature to me. You know what I mean? When you have a client who has a certain problem, you'll have to go in there and find that bug, find that glitch, read that code, whatever. I've just been doing that for such a long time. But the fact that I knew we could hold them accountable was because of that research I had to do for my own website a few months back. So I started looking, when I was looking at her campaign, I was just like, I wonder if this can't be okay. You know what I mean? Some stuff, you're like, are they skirting the law? Maybe, but there has to be some sort of loophole. This is not all right. There has to be something preventing them from doing this. So I just started thinking, and I was like, looking at the site, like, is this compliant? Again, because I had to make sure mine was compliant, so I know what to look for. And then I was like, that payment processor, that's who we need to think about. Who is the payment processor? Because that's who we can hold accountable. And because of my web development experience, I knew where to go find that. And I just think that's so funny. And I know somebody somewhere punching the air. And I hope they're watching this, because those things that you thought were going to harm me, they were actually tools that I needed to fight more people like you.
So guys, welcome back to the channel, and I hope we've all watched these clips to the very end. Now let us have our analysis. This is my analysis according to what I just understood and I came up with. So this analogy is so simple and yet incredibly profound. Once you put a nutmeg in a smoothie, you can't just pour it out and remove it. We all know that. That nutmeg, like trauma, like racism, stains everything it touches. So this is exactly how racism works, by the way. And it's not just one-time slur. It's a residue, an aftertaste, the link that lingers in our society, in our systems, and in our wallets. So she used a racial slur on a child, a 5-year-old, and raised thousands of dollars afterwards, right? On what planet does that really make sense? So a woman just insults a kid, and then she feels like she's the victim. She's playing the victim, and then she goes ahead and raises thousands of dollars, right? So what's worse, the money wasn't just going into thin air. It was being channeled through legitimate financial processors like Block Incorporation, Square, and later Stripe, right? And that's where our hero, the black tech entrepreneur, comes in, man, right? So this woman really, this woman really inspired me, right? So she knew the system because the system tried to destroy her. Racists targeted a business with refund scams, which pushed her to learn the legal and financial backend of online payments. And she used that very knowledge to attack the beast from inside. That's what makes this story so powerful, guys. It's not just resistance, it's a strategic rebellion. So she didn't just speak out, she took action. She drafted plans, mobilized a community, and exploited the system's own rules to hold it accountable. This is what activism in the digital age looks like. It's not just going on Twitter to rant, going out there to protest. No, you just have to be strategic to hold these systems that enable racism accountable. So it's a reminder that we don't always need permission to create change. Just the right tools, knowledge, and the community, we're going to drive and bring change into our society. So this is just a story about racism. It's a story about systems, the ones that protect hate and the ones who can use to dismantle it. The nutmeg in the smoothie analogy reminds us that you can't just tell people get over harm. You can't just get over racism, right? So you gotta clean it up. You gotta clean the cup up, you know. And that cleaning, it takes work, community, and sometimes it takes a coder who refused to stay silent. So guys, next time when you hear someone say it's just the internet, it's just words, these are just little wankers, remember the story. Remember the 500,000 US dollars raised for racism and the woman who shut it down. Our sister who helped us put that thing to an end. Right? So if you found this video enlightening, insightful, and thought-provoking, if you found it educative, I'll ask you most definitely to hit that like button so that this video can be pushed to as many people as possible. Make sure that you hit the subscribe button. Make sure that you leave a comment. Tell me what you think. This is the Diaspora View, and my name is Presenter Sam. Thank you for watching. I hope to see you in my next video. Peace out.